Hello, I'm Heather Taylor. I'm a front-end designer at Sparkbox. I'm a certified professional in web accessibility who enjoys designing and developing a more beautiful, functional, and accessible web. Today, I'm going to share with you how to begin remediating your website's inaccessibility. You may be wondering, what does it mean to have an accessible website? You may have people on your team ask, does it really matter? As you begin the remediation of a legacy site for accessibility, there are a few common pitfalls that you should avoid. Pitfall number 1, the compliance checkbox culture. Accessibility should not be a checkbox on your website's to-do list in an effort to demonstrate compliance. Automated testing tools are a great example of this. They are an excellent resource for identifying key accessibility issues such as color contrast, incorrect hierarchy of heading elements, links without discernible names, and images without all attributes. All perfect for creating a list of items to check off and complete. An accessible website will include a variety of testing methods that will differ at each stage of your website's life cycle. Pitfall number 2, treating accessibility as an afterthought. Simply put, becoming accessible before you're sued is better for your brand and your bottom line. In 2017, there were 814 ADA digital accessibility lawsuits. In 2020, there were 3,550. Think about it. That's an average of 10 lawsuits per day. Research shows that a well-conceived, frictionless UX design could potentially raise customer conversion rates up to 400%. Accessible websites improve usability for people of all ages and abilities. Pitfall number 3, ignoring the enormous spending capacity of people with disabilities. In the U.S., people with disabilities have an estimated annual discretionary income of more than $20 billion. When you include the spending power of friends and family of those with disabilities, that number increases significantly. Nearly half of us here today buy from brands that practice inclusion. Consider the latest shoe created by Nike. The Go Fly Ease allows for someone to quickly and easily get into their shoes hands-free. How many people here today have seen the promotional advertisements for the Go Fly Ease, and they immediately felt the need to go buy a new pair of shoes? That's the power of inclusion and accessibility. So let's take a moment to pause and reflect. You may have recognized yourself or your organization in one of these pitfalls we just reviewed. These are common pitfalls that happen while doing remediation. In most cases, we've lost focus on the most important thing behind our work towards a more accessible web, that being the people that are using our products. As your accessibility guide, I'm here to reassure you that if your company has fallen into one of these pitfalls, recognize this as an opportunity rather than an obstacle. Let's change and widen our perspective on how people use the web. It isn't all about screen readers and ARIA attributes. I'm going to share with you ways that people are taking adaptations, whether they need to or not, to make the web a better place for them. Understanding a variety of perspectives will empower us to make better decisions. The first step in making your site more accessible isn't found within the wireframes, design comps, or code base. It's found by focusing on the people that use your site. In this next section, I will share how people with disabilities use the web. Today, I'm going to focus on 4 categories of disabilities: visual, auditory, motor, and cognitive. Please note that this is not an exclusive list, but rather an introduction to people using the web in ways that you may not even be aware of. I'm going to share some examples of extremely common disabilities, many of which are invisible in the adaptations that people make to browse and interact the web. You will most likely recognize some of these adaptations as the work we do to create a more accessible web benefits everyone. My goal for you is to have a better understanding, perhaps a new perspective on how people use the web so that you feel more equipped to initiate and lead conversations regarding accessibility in your workplace. So let's look at people with visual disabilities. Visual disabilities include people who have blindness, low vision, or color blindness. Blindness is characterized as sightlessness or a loss of vision. It may also refer to partial blindness, where sight may be extremely limited. People with low vision can see, but their vision is still quite far from perfect, even with corrective lenses. Color blindness refers to the inability to distinguish between certain kinds of colors. Causes of visual disabilities include diabetes, retinal diseases such as macular degeneration, glaucoma, accidents or traumatic injuries to the eye, stroke, and cataracts. On this slide, we see a screenshot of the 2019 Design System Survey. The image to the right demonstrates what a person with red-green color blindness might see. On this slide, we see a screenshot of the 2018 Design System Survey. People with low vision use their keyboard controls to zoom in and enlarge the content on their screen. Many of us do the same when using mobile devices. How often do you pinch or tap on an image to zoom in for a better look? People with auditory disabilities. Auditory disabilities include people who have deafness or are hard of hearing. Imagine sitting at a table with 5 of your closest friends or family members. According to the statistics, one person at your table has some degree of hearing loss. Causes of auditory disabilities include genetic or prenatal causes, middle ear infections, traumatic injury or illness, and aging. People with auditory disabilities use video captions and transcripts to consume auditory elements such as videos and podcasts. This slide shows a screenshot of the Overly Human podcast website. Beneath the audio controls is a complete transcript of the podcast. This slide also shows a screenshot of an article in the Sparkbox Foundry, which features a video with captioning. Below the video, the article includes a text version of the step-by-step instructions presented in the video. How many people here have benefited from captioning while watching videos on your mobile device, while sitting either in a crowded, noisy room, or perhaps in a quiet room where you didn't want others to hear what you were listening to? People with motor disabilities. Motor disabilities include people who have the inability to use a mouse, have a slow response time, or limited fine motor control. Causes of motor disabilities include weakness or limitations of the muscular system, lack of coordination, paralysis, traumatic injuries, joint problems, missing limbs, congenital disorders and diseases, aging, and tremors. People with motor disabilities use voice recognition software such as Dragon Naturally Speaking to navigate and interact with the web by their voice. How many people here have used the digital assistants such as a Siri, Alexa, Cortana, Bixby, or an Amazon Echo to search for information or even buy a product online? People with cognitive disabilities. Cognitive disabilities include people who have a greater difficulty with mental tasks than the average person. There are more people with cognitive disabilities than all other types of disabilities combined. Let me repeat that again. There are more people with cognitive disabilities than all other types of disabilities combined. It is also important to note that cognitive disabilities can be hard to identify, sometimes easy to hide, and often invisible to those around us. Causes and types of cognitive disabilities include memory loss, learning and problem-solving disabilities, inability to concentrate or pay attention to a task, inability to focus or process information, reading, linguistic and verbal comprehension, math comprehension, and visual comprehension. This slide shows a screenshot of an article on the Sparkbox Foundry with a screen ruler overlaying the browser window. The ruler allows for the user to focus on a single line of text. A screen ruler can help people with cognitive disabilities such as dyslexia and those with an inability to concentrate. People with cognitive disabilities also benefit from simplified web content. Written content should be clear, concise, and presented in a clean and uncluttered format. Know that we've only scratched the surface of how people with disabilities use the web. Each individual is beautifully unique, and how they engage with the products we build may vary. The common pitfalls of compliance checkbox culture, treating accessibility as an afterthought, and ignoring the spending capacity of people with disabilities can be avoided when we keep our focus on how people use the web. I encourage you to begin the conversation with friends, family members, and coworkers. By gaining an understanding of how they use the web, you will widen your scope and perspective and become a better advocate for accessibility. With openness and gratitude for people with disabilities, listen to their stories and begin to see how we can transform our presence on the web into a better, more accessible place for everyone. Thank you.
Hey, thanks again for checking out this video. If you want to learn more about how we're building a better web, visit us at sparkbox.com.